Welcome to the Dr. Hutch Show. Plan for Impact. I'm Dr. J.L. Hutchinson Jr. and thank you for joining us this evening on 1220 Beyond the Word.
And I'm Evangelist Elaine P. Jones, co-host. Today we will be discussing the topic, what is a family?
Yes, and last week we started off with the whole essence of talking about the family as far as the first unit and how important that unit is. And actually we talked about God, the creator, the inventor of the family. So if we having issues with our family, we need to go back. And my mom used to always tell me, son, if you're having problems, what you need to do, you need to backtrack, investigate, research, figure out what is the true meaning of the things that cause the problem instead of you just guessing. And we're not going to guess. We're going to not look at things as a hypothesis, an educated guess. That's what it means. And as far as understanding the family, we're going to deal with hard core facts in regards to the creator. And if we need to know how a family's supposed to function, we need to go to the creator, the architect, look at the blueprint. And the Bible has the blueprint of what a family's supposed to do and how they're supposed to function.
Yes.
A lot of us don't understand as young men growing up. We grow up, we are in a family, we have brothers and sisters, and we have a relationship with our mothers and our fathers. Some do, some don't. Right. But the essence of the family is to function and to complete a mission, to do something. Every family has a purpose.
That's so true.
We heard of the back in the day, the Hatfields and the McCoys fighting and feuding and stuff like that. Families have a history. Families have an existence, and they do things. And sometimes we get involved with things and we don't know what they mean because we feel that thing of the word tradition.
That's
Basically the family, we did this for this way. For it doesn't mean it was right. It doesn't mean it was wrong. It was something that people did in the past, and they passed something down.
Right.
Very important to understand the role everybody plays in the family.
Yes.
That's one of the things that we fail to pass down.
That's so true.
We fail to pass down. What does the father supposed to do? What does the mother supposed to do? What does the children supposed to do?
Right.
A lot of us don't even understand that. And growing up as a young man, I didn't understand what my part was, what my brother's part was, what my father's part was in regards to that relationship and being in the family, my role. We're going to look at the first member of the family, the first person that God created to establish the family. And we're going to look at that, and we're going to examine why it is so important for us to continue to have a relationship with God, have a relationship with our children, have a relationship with the community, and also be able to establish a relationship with the family and the world, how everything plays a part. And we have to understand that. And I'm just going to dip a little in that. And like I said, we're going to cover a couple of things. We're going to talk about what the family is. We talked about that, touched on that last week. We're going to talk about what's the impact of a family as far as death and loss of a job and divorce and the relationships in the family. We're going to break all that stuff down, but we're going to do it in a series. We're going to, in the next 2 more weeks, this is our third week, our second week, we're going to do it. We said 4 weeks. Last week was week 1. This is week 2.
Right.
Keep myself on track. So we're going to introduce you to the father. The father carries titles. The father, the husband, and he also carries the title leader. So he has 3 titles, and we're going to talk about how those titles are supposed to function in regards to the family. Let me just go ahead and let's get started. Let's look at the first member of the family. As we meet the husband or the father, he has many responsibilities and duties in his position. What he does, as far as and what he's supposed to do, we're going to talk about that. Could you read Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 through 7?
Okay, sure. And that says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates."
Yeah, and folks, when you hear people say, "Well, I've been a good person. I lived a good life. I don't sin. I don't go out and do those things. I don't drink. I don't do." Well, first of all, the first sin of man is not loving the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, and all your power. Right. Why? That's the first sin. So for you to even step in front of God and say that, "God, I have been good," that's the first sin you have committed. Right. Because every day we should be thankful that God has did what? He has given us life. And he has done things for us that we can't even do for ourselves. He's given us an opportunity to be able to exist. First of all, God says one simple thing. He says, "Love me." You know, and as he say, "Love me," I want you to read a little bit more. Could you read all the way up to 10? To 11.
To 11, sure. Yeah. I left off at verse 9, and so I'll read 10 and 11. Verse 10 says, "When the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you a land with large flourishing cities you did not build, houses filled with all kinds of good things you did not provide, wells you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. Then, when you eat and are satisfied," I'll go ahead and read 12. Yes. "Be careful that you do not forget the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery."
That is key, because what do we do every day? We forget God. God said, "Do not forget me. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to bless you, but do not forget me." Why would God say that? Because man has the ability of choice, and man gets to a certain point and he feels that he doesn't need God.
Yes, and you know what too, sometimes, Dr. Hutch, we get so busy enjoying these wonderful things God blessed us with, we get distracted.
Yes, we get very distracted.
Very distracted.
On the number one thing we're supposed to do, God says, "Love me with all your" what?
With all your heart.
All your mind. Yeah, everything.
All your heart, all your soul, and all your strength.
And that's the thing that he asked you to do. And he says, "These commandments that I give you today are to be
on your hearts."
And then that's when you lay down, when you get up, when you talking to your kids, you're passing it down to your kids.
In other words, Dr. Hutch, always, all the time.
So that's just like praying without ceasing. So first of all the men that are out there, we're all guilty of that. We're all guilty of that. So we cannot claim that we have been the fathers that we are, the leaders and the husband that we supposed to be, because if we were doing that, our children would know and understand that they have those things have been passed down to them when they get up, when they go to sleep. So if that is not being done, and our kids go out and do the things that they do to get themselves in trouble, is because we have failed to do something at home. And can you go find Psalms 128, and we're going to look at the insight of that, because it's so important, folks. Being a man, I was talking to my son today, Jermaine, about being a man. The hardest thing about being a man is our decision making. When a man makes a decision, it's different from a woman. I'm going to explain this. A man makes a decision, it determines the direction of his life for the next 5 years. A woman makes a decision, it can determine the direction of her life for the next 2 to 3 years. Let me explain the reason. God has given us dominion over things. When he created Adam, God said to him, he said, go and do one thing. First thing he needed to do was name all the animals. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that a man has to do when God gives you a direction mm-hmm. or command, we have to be creative. Mm-hmm. We have to be creative in making sure that what we do can go beyond our own mental capacity. Mm-hmm. So to name all the animals, that is a very creative thing. You mm-hmm. have to be completely focused. Mm-hmm. Men fail to become focused. When you lose your focus, you start making decisions that will impact your life for the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because the first 2 years, you're going to be disillusioned in thinking that you made the right choice. Mm-hmm. The third year is going to be where you're going to have doubts mm-hmm. and start figuring out that the decision that I made was wrong. And the fourth year is going to take you 12 months to just try to turn around and get away from, or in that circumstance or that situation you in, you're going to find yourself trying to get away from it. In the fifth year, that's when you're going to, because men are emotional, you're going to be silent. You're going to be quiet. You're going to be thinking of why you made that decision, trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. You're going to be looking in the past instead of looking forward. Mm-hmm. And it's going to, in the last 6 months to about the last 6 to 3 months, then you're going to realize, hey, God, I surrender. See, we have that. We have that. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying this is because I experienced it. Mm-hmm. And I experienced it when decisions that I made in my life, mm-hmm. I had to turn around, and how long it takes a person to mm-hmm. get back on their feet, to get back focused, is about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And to realize that you point yourself in the right direction toward God. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into that Psalms 128. We're going to break it down and the duties and the ideology that God has for man. And we understand that man has his own perception of what he should do and be. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about what God has the basics of a man and what they should do. This is Dr. Hutch, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. J.L. Hutchinson, the host of the Dr. Hutch Show, and I'd like to thank you for listening to my show. But I would like to tell you about my 7 Steps to Change Your Life, a program that I put together to impact your life and impact other people's lives. Elaine, could you tell them how they can sign up for that?
Sure. 7 Steps to Change Your Life is an in-depth continuation of Dr. Hutchinson's training on Raw, which in fact takes you through each step of the training and really encourages you to get raw in regards to your business and personal life while achieving the goals you have made for yourself and your business. For more information, contact Dr. Hutch International at 216-264-6214 or email Elaine at drhutchinternational.com. Hire Dr. Hutch today. Dr. Hutch is committed to assisting entrepreneurs and business owners in developing their business to perform on the next level. If you are a corporation, school, church, or nonprofit organization that would like Dr. Hutch to take your company one step closer to success and impact the lives of your employees and you, please contact us at 216-264-6214. Or visit thedrhutchshow.com. That's THEDRHUTCHSHOW.com.
Welcome back to the Dr. Hutch Show. I'm Dr. J.L. Hutchinson, and this is the Dr. Hutch Show, and we've been talking about family. We've been talking about the first member of the family. We've been talking about the man, the husband, the wife. You know, he's not the wife, the father. Yeah, that's another show. So what we're talking about is, what are those duties? Let's go to Psalms 128. Let's jump in and see what his duties are.
Okay. Starting at verse 1, it says, "Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Yes, this will be the blessing for the man who fears the Lord. May the Lord bless you from Zion. May you see the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life. May you live to see your children's children. Peace be on Israel."
Blessed are all who fear the Lord and walk in obedience to him. Mm-hmm. First thing a man should do is fear the Lord. Mm-hmm. When you fear the Lord, what does that do? He says, yes, this will be the blessing for man who fears the Lord. You will get blessed by fearing the Lord. Fearing the Lord is understanding and following and being obedient. That's important.
And I think so also, too, what it says to me is, if you fear him, that will help guide a lot of your decisions.
You have just did it again. You always do that. You know, you just dig right in. You know what I mean? You pulling the apple right out of the basket, and that is the right thing, because in order for you to make those decisions, and I said earlier that when a man makes a decision, it changes the direction of his life. Mm-hmm. And that is so important. That's what we should not be in fear of the decision. Mm-hmm. We should be in fear of the Lord, because we need to be obedient. And God already told us we should be in direct communication with him every day. That's true. Every night, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And we should be doing what? We should be passing it down to our children. Mm-hmm. We should be educating them. And we're going to talk about what another role that a man's supposed to do, far as in regards to the family. And as we look and see what God is doing in our life as men, we also have to understand that God blesses us with the woman. Mm-hmm. He blesses us with the children. Right. And when he blesses us with those things, we are in direct communication with him. So we know that as she follows me, I'm following him. And those out there that are not following anybody but what the world puts on television or reality shows or whatever, you have to understand that there's consequences. Yes. And those are consequences that can be a big problem, and it can cause many problems. Let's look at Job chapter 1 verse 5.
And that reads, "When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's regular custom.
As the father, you're supposed to pray for your children and cover your children. Let them know that you are following God, but also let the Lord know that your children are important to you. You know, I remember years ago when my children, Jermaine, Jamal, and Jimmy, I said to them, I had gave them a Bible, and I wrote in the Bible, I said, out of all the things I can give you, my sons, the only thing I can give you is God that lasts forever. If anything ever happens to me, I know he'll be in good hands, and some other things that I wrote. And years passed. This is a little bitty Bible that I had got. And Jermaine had came out, I think, in 2006, him and his brother. And he had the Bible. He was the one that had the Bible. The Bible that I had left for my children because I was going over to the Persian Gulf. Didn't know if I was going to return. That was back in 1990. And I said, if anything I can give my kids, I can give them this. Because the father is supposed to be the teacher and an example. And he also supposed to be the provider. So giving an example to my kids and also praying for them.
Right.
See, a lot of people think that, okay, the mother teaches the children. No.
That is so true, Dr. Hutch. I was just thinking that. And also that it's the woman's job to pray. Let her pray for those hard-headed kids.
No.
I hear a lot of people saying that.
Is the father is the one, because he's the leader. And God said to him, if you are obedient, I will bless you. Follow my commands. God gave him commands. And Job said, I don't know what my kids are doing. They're not under my roof anymore, but I'm praying for them. I'm praying, God, that you help keep them and put a shield of protection around them. So it's the father's responsibility to pray, and the father's responsibility not only to teach his children, but to be an example. Because remember, when we read in the Deuteronomy, God said that the father is to do what? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and basically all your strength. And what did he say? He said, pass down these things to your children. When they sit down, when they get up, when they eat, whenever, you are to give this. So he is to teach. The father is the one to teach the children about God, about the higher power, the Lord himself that guides him, because his decisions, that his footsteps is being guided by the scriptures and by the Lord, and being obedient. The mother is the one to equip the young men and the young women in regards to the things of the house. The man is responsible for the things of the Lord. That's important. And when those things are out of whack, that's why a lot of people don't understand that their kids grow up without any fear. See, the kid thinks that the parents just so happen to get the power because they had them. But the kids don't understand that when they disobey their parents, their days get cut short.
Because they're disobeying God.
Because they disobeying God, not their parents. Because the power that is given to the parents come from God. And when the father neglects his responsibility and his life is not the way he wanted to be or how it could be, is because he excuse me, because he failed to be obedient to the Lord. So
God. That is so true.
So when you step in front of God and you say, okay, God, on Judgment Day, I did what I had to do, I did this, and God doesn't want to hear, because the first thing he told you to do is to love him and commit yourself with all your soul, all your body, all your strength, everything, day and night, day in, day out. And when you fail to do that, you have did what? You have disobeyed what God told you. So that's why people don't prosper. Because of just that one thing. You may think it's something small. You may say, well, I'll skip this day, I'll skip this week. I have God on my mind all day, every day, everything that I do. Why? Because it is so important. Because the decisions that you make, I'm old enough to understand that. But I had to have a hard head, because I didn't have a cover. The boyhood, taking off that and becoming manhood, somebody has to put it on you. And you have to be covered. If you're not covered, then things happen. We got a lot of young men that are not covered. And the responsibility of the man is to make sure that his kids understand that he has a relationship with the Lord. So he needs to be an example. In order for him to give his kids the understanding that he's following the Lord is through his teaching. So he teaches them how to do. And we're going to get into how the man's supposed to teach his children, even if they're not going to get in his field of business.
Right.
I have seen, and you see sometimes you have where the father is a farmer. His kids come work on the farm, but they grow up and they go away and they live in other places. They live in other places and they say, okay, I'm going to live in another place. They go live over in or another state or another city, but they don't do the business, but they learned the business. But the learning the business is not for them to do the business, but to give them sensibility of understanding what it takes to make it and how it is to work hard and to
in other words, the father teaches them good work ethics.
Good work ethics. We need a heart-to-heart moment right now. And what we're going to do, because we're going to have to come back next week with the second part of being a man. Who comes first? Give us a heart-to-heart moment.
Okay. What I want to share today is from 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and verse 7. And it says, "Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner, and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers." Now, just as you talked about the father being the head, and we didn't get into the role of the mother, but we know that surely as there's a father, there's a mother, because we know two men don't make a baby. But what I got from this is God led me to this scripture is basically just keeping things in order. Just as you talked about the father handing things down to the children and teaching them, not so much as that they can be just like him, but that they can carry on the good work ethics and loving God with all your heart and soul and strength. Why? Because that's what my father did, and that's what my mother did. And you know what? When we have things in order, it makes things go so much smoother. And people get caught up in, oh, the woman's not weaker and this and that. It's not about a physical strength. I don't believe that's what the Bible meant. But God is really guiding the man and saying, be a little more gentle with her and be mindful of her. And then she can take her role and treat her children the way they should be treated, because she's covered by her husband.
And that is very important. Thank you for that heart-to-heart moment, because that is so important, and we need to understand that. So next week, when we come back, we're going to be talking about what the part 2 of a man's role. And we thank you for joining us this evening, and next week, we're going to impact your life with more family matters. You have been listening to the Dr. Hutch Show on 1220 Beyond the Word.